We may be waiting on a couple more people to come in, but, pero vamos a empezar porque ya son las 9:30 y 2 minutos más. Muy bien, y muy buenos días a todos. Vamos a practicar muchísimo con ser y estar, con números, con descripciones de la casa, todo eso. A few words on vocabulary, the house. And I hope you had a chance. I know I gave you lots of videos to watch for, during this week. But I hope you kind of started to note, especially if you watched the videos on La Casa, that a lot of vocabulary is flexible. There are a lot of variations in vocabulary sometimes. Especially with things like, with food, it's notorious. Are different words for different kinds of foods in various regions and various countries. Words that people will use for one kind of food in one country, but not at all. They'll use completely different word. It doesn't even look like the first word in a different country or even a different region of the same country. And so it is with La Casa. Sometimes people use different words, and the one real flip-floppy vocabulary term in La Casa is going to be that word for bedroom. There are all kinds of different words that are used for bedroom, and probably 4 or 5, and different words. It depends on where you live and where you're traveling, but people will kind of universally understand which word you mean, which place you mean, even if you use a different term for bedroom. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. We want to start off with ser, estar y estar. Vamos a empezar con ser y con estar. I am hoping that you had a chance. Ooh, and that's probably a robocall coming in. We're going to ignore that. I hope you had a chance to go back and look at some of those examples, because ser and estar is a complicated topic. Both ser and estar mean to be, so it becomes very, very confusing for English speakers, and people who study Spanish study ser and estar year after year after year after year. So if you think it's difficult, please know that most English speakers do find it difficult because we only have one verb, to be. And, in Spanish, it's to, essentially. And then we've also got I, there are thrown in there. So do know that in general, in very general terms, ser is often used for things that are more permanent, less likely to change, things that identify, put a stamp on, this thing is this person is this, okay? And estar tends to be, in most cases, more of a temporary nature. That's why we've got the little rhymer for how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar, okay? But don't get hung up on the ser permanent and estar temporary thing, because here's the problem. In our minds, a lot of times, we tend to want to, we confuse what is really considered permanent in Spanish and temporary in Spanish with what we think of as temporary and permanent in English. And so here's what I want to tell you. When you're thinking about the permanent versus temporary thing, with ser, permanent is going to pertain to physical appearance in general and to personality traits. That's important. Personality characteristics. Okay. And there's a difference between personality traits, how somebody generally behaves because of their temperament, and how they feel. So intelligent, because maybe somebody doesn't always act so smart. We don't know anybody like that. that is, it is the way that person is. Intelligence isn't how they feel. It's not an emotion. Yeah. But somebody being happy is an emotion. Somebody being well in good health is a temporary, often in flux kind of thing. That will be on the temporary side. Somebody being busy, that's not a personality thing. It is the state somebody is in. So busy will be temporary, estar. Worried is how you feel. It's temporary. It is estar. Happy, sad, that'll be estar. Even the idea of being ready. If you're ready, you're in a mental state that you're in the moment. That ready is not a personality trait. You're not always ready. Sometimes you're ready, sometimes you're not. So a lot of these words, you know, we think of it, wow, temporary, permanent, don't get too hung up on that. If it is a personality description or a physical description, it's ser. Okay? If it's a state, a condition that is easily changeable, it is estar. Okay? And if it's location, it's estar. That's all you have to think about. Okay. Vamos a practicar un poquito. We're going to practice a little bit. Primero. First, I'm going to share a screen with you. And we're going to see if you can guess. And hopefully it won't even be a guess. It will be, and I'm sure of this, at least 70% of the time. Which form? We're just going to look first to warm up. Which form of ser will be the right one to talk about these various people? Y para repasar, soy, eres, es, somos. Sois they only use in Spain. You're only going to see a couple of examples. We'll skip those. And son for ellos, ellas, ustedes, right? So we're looking at, are we talking about yo, first person singular, somos, first person plural, I have somebody with me. Are we talking about tú? You're talking to somebody with the friendly you. Are you talking about one human being or a bunch of human beings? Okay, that determines which form of ser we're going to use. So let's see from these prompts.
No.
You can figure out which form of ser fits. Carmen is Spanish. She's a person from Spain. We're talking about her nationality. Es. Perfecto. Una persona es. Julio y Hernando
Son.
argentinos. They're Argentine guys. They're from Argentina. Okay. We're Italian.
Somos.
And remember, nosotros is just there as the prompt, so you know who we're talking. In real life, people are going to drop the nosotros most of the time. They're not going to bother, because why? Nosotros, somos can only be one thing. Somos can only be one thing. I don't need that stinking nosotros thing in there, unless I want to be emphatic. Okay, somebody asks a question, número 4. Somebody asks a question. Hey, are you guys also Italian?
Son.
¿Son? ¿Ustedes también son italianos? And those people answer, oh, no, we're not Italian. We're German.
No somos.
No somos italianos, somos alemanes. And they're just using nationalities to prompt that, because
What's alemanes?
Alemanes, German. German people, people from Germany. Okay. Hola, and it got yo because we normally wouldn't use yo.
Hoy.
Hoy.
What comes before alemanes?
Somos.
No somos italianos, somos alemanes. We are not Italians, we are Germans. It was just a repetition of somos. Yeah, it's somos for both. Yeah. It would be like saying, we're not American, we're not US people, we're Canadians. Yeah, it would be in the same context as that. Okay, siete sois, but we're going to skip that because we only use that vosotras in Spain. And if you ask somebody, oh, are you Mr. Gonzalez?
Es.
Es usted.
Es usted. Important to know that Usted always shares the same kind of verb as él, talking about one human, a male, or ella, talking about one human, a female. Usted always shares the same kind of verb. Okay. 9. Las amigas de Miguel
Son.
son las amigas de Miguel. De Miguel means Mike's. Michael's. Okay. The friends of Michael, because they don't have apostrophe S. To show possession, they have to say de Miguel. Las amigas de Miguel son peluqueras. Peluqueras son personas que cortan el pelo. Peluqueras are people who do this thing to you, yeah? They do the hair cutting. Peluquera comes from the word for pelo, hair. Okay. Perdón. ¿De dónde? ¿De dónde? Here's the friendly.
Es.
Where are you?
Eres.
Tú es eres.
Eres.
Número 10, sí, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from? But if it's on talking to an older person, right? To someone you really don't know, well, ¿de dónde es usted? Right? ¿De dónde eres? For tú, número 10. ¿De dónde es usted? Número 11. ¿Bien? Okay. ¿De dónde es usted? But two teenagers talk to each other would use the number 10 version, or two kids talking to each other. ¿De dónde eres? Or if you talk to a little kid, you would ask, ¿de dónde eres? Little kids expect to be spoken to with tú. Okay. But adult to adult, if you don't know a first name basis, it would be polite. ¿De dónde es usted? Okay. And where are you guys from? Número 12. Where are you guys from? ¿De dónde?
Eres.
Well, with ustedes, we can't use eres.
Es.
Es.
Es is for one usted. That's
Son.
son. So here's the sequence. Where are you from? They have to put the word from first, and the word from is de. Okay, so de donde, from where? That's just the word order. De donde eres, to a little kid or a couple teen or 20-year-olds to each other, right? De donde es usted? Polite. Most of us adults, you know, especially we've never met somebody before. And plural you is going to be de donde son ustedes. De donde son ustedes. Ustedes will share son with ellos and ellas. Sí, bien.
If I ask someone, where are you?
That is not ser, because where you are is estar. But
Okay.
where are you from is not location right now. Where are you from means where you normally live if you're traveling, where you normally live, or maybe where you were born, you know, depends. So there's a difference between, so it's good you asked this question, there's a difference between where are you from, which is origin or nationality, and that uses ser. Where you are from is not necessarily where you are right now, okay? Where you are from is considered origin, and that means ser. Origin never changes. Where you are from is always the same place, but where you are might change from minute to minute, from hour to hour, from month to month. Bien? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Bien. That's why I've got the rhyme for how you feel or where you are. Always use the verb estar.
Got it.
Okay. Bien. Vale, magnífico. And we don't have that in English, so that is a normal question to have. Okay. Número 13, number 13. We're asking if Javier is an engineer. Javier.
Yes.
Yes. And just so you know, normally I am used to the word order being a little different. Es Javier ingeniero, or es ingeniero Javier. Usually in a question, we put the verb up first, but this one they flipped it here. I mean, you can in Spanish. So, okay. 14, número 14.
Soy.
Yo
Soy.
Soy.
soy estudiante de español. I'm telling what I do. Y Jorge y yo
Somos.
somos mexicanos. Somos mexicanos. We are Mexicans. This is our origin, our nationality. So those are the forms of estar.
I have a question.
Sí, dime.
When do you use Hispaniola and Española? HIS and
Oh,
on the first question.
en la español. Español.
Española. Is that Spain?
Española is Spanish for a female person.
Of a Spanish person.
Spanish person, Spaniard.
A Spaniard.
A
Okay.
Spaniard, somebody from the country of Spain.
That's what I thought. So when do you
Yeah.
use Hispaniola? HIS.
Casi nunca.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I ran into a Peruvian guy
En
and I told him I
inglés.
was from Spain
Oh,
and Puerto Rico. And he said, oh, Hispaniola, HI.
okay. Well, okay. Well, even then,
I thought it's incorrect.
okay. In English, Hispaniola was an old term they used for that one island that's divided between Haiti and República Dominicana. So
Yes.
in English, Hispaniola is the term for that whole island, or it's
Okay,
like an
okay.
old term. It's an
Okay.
old term that goes way, way back to the, conquista days.
Yeah, he was older too.
Yeah, and that may be,
Okay.
that is a more of an English kind of geographical.
Is
reference.
Hispaniola
Even-
still there or is it a
even-
new name?
Oh yeah, it's still there, but
That's what I thought.
but we don't call it that anymore. We call it two nations, Haiti, and República Dominicana, which is kind of next door to Puerto Rico. It's in the
Right.
same neighborhood of
Yeah.
El
yeah.
Caribe, but they're not the same island.
Okay.
And people
Thank you.
may have some of their, they know which things are in the Caribbean, but maybe not which ones are which necessarily. That happens. It happens to all of us. Okay, a ver. Do you need to see a short video on how we use ser, like context? Sí o no? No?
No.
Nada. Okay, vale. We're going to charge forward then. We're going to charge forward with estar. We're going to take a look now at estar. Same kind of thing. We're going to see if you can recognize when we use the various conjugations. ¿Vale bien? Y aquí tenemos, here we have, aquí tenemos las formas, las conjugaciones, pero las formas de estar. This is for where you are. And it's to talk about easily changeable conditions, health, emotions, your mental state. Yeah, your mental state, where your brain is at, where your head is at. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis only in Spain, están. And you'll notice a lot of those have accent marks, and that just means you punch that syllable a little bit harder, you give it more emphasis. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, están. Como estás comes from that. How are you? What state are you in today? Good, bad, in between? Yeah, we're asking about your health. Okay, it's important that we punch that, where you see that accent mark, we punch that ah sound. Okay, I want to caution you. There is a word esta, and there is a word estas, but they are not esta. They are not estas. The word esta means this thing. And the word estas means these things. So it's when you punch a different syllable, you change the meaning of the word entirely. This is the verb. We punch the a at the end. Estás, está, están. Okay, vale. Vamos a practicar aquí. Y fíjense, notice. When we say buenos días, Susana, it means you're talking to Susana. Buenos días, coma. Buenos dias, Susana. Hi, Sue. And you know Sue by her first name. So we're going to.
Estás.
Perfecto. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? If you know Susana, you call Susana by her first name, she doesn't think it weird if you say ¿Cómo está usted? Muy formal. Wow, what did I do? What did I do? Okay, ¿por qué tan formal? Why so formal? Okay. Now we've got a thing that talks about pure location. The books are in the library. Los libros
Están.
están en la biblioteca. En, that tiny word en is a great big red flag. It says, look, location, location, estar. Los libros están en la biblioteca. And here we got a word that kind of means just focused, concentrated. Nosotros
Estamos.
Estamos. Here's somebody, número cuatro. Are you busy? And this is a formal you.
Está.
Está usted, perfecto. Está usted ocupado? Are you busy? And the person would answer sí, or in this case, no.
Estoy.
No estoy ocupado. And notice it is frequent to have double no's or even triple no's in Spanish. They like those negative words. And the more you got, the happier we are about it. So yeah, double negatives like are bad in English. Double negatives are like, yeah, big thumbs up in Spanish. So double no's. Usually you only need one no in front of a verb, but it's common to see a double no or hear a double no. No estoy ocupado. Okay, cinco, yo
Estoy.
estoy muy cansada.
Muy cansada.
And we know cansada, tired. Cansada, tired, cansada. Muy importante, because that cansada word ends in an sound, because the last letter is an that person saying yo estoy muy cansada is a girl, a lady. When we talk, so if I were going to say I am busy, I would have to say it as estoy ocupada. Because I am a woman, I would have to say estoy ocupada. I could not use ocupado with an o at the end, okay? Because any word that describes a female person has to be in that feminine form, okay? Número 6, reloj es watch, or it could be a clock. In this case, it's a clock. ¿Dónde está el reloj?
El reloj.
Where's the clock?
Reloj.
El reloj
It's on the wall.
en la pared.
Está.
Repeat.
Está en la pared.
Está en la pared. It's on the wall. La pared is an inside wall, an interior wall. Está en la pared. It's on the wall. Okay, vale. Número 7. Are you guys at home?
Están.
Están ustedes.
Están ustedes en casa. Are you guys at home? No. Nosotros
Estamos.
estamos en la escuela.
Nosotros están
Yeah.
en la escuela.
The first no is meaning not at home, and the second part is saying we're at this other place. Estamos en la escuela, we're at school. And in or at is that word en. So that's going to always tell you a location. Maria looks,
Marilyn, when we say nosotros estamos, can we avoid the word nosotros and just say estamos?
absolutamente. Yes, sí. Absolutamente. You absolutely can. And they have it there because it is a prompt to make sure you know which verb to use. So in a normal conversation, that word nosotros would be skipped. They're here for the sake of in context, making sure you pair up the right human being with the verb form. Bueno, número 8. Pálida es pale, like all the color drained out of your face. Is that the way? Sí, perdón.
Está. Sí.
Está. María está pálida.
María
She-
está pálida.
Está
Palo
pálida.
porque
Está
resfriada.
resfriada.
Resfriada. Resfriada es esto. Achú. Achú.
Salud, salud.
Gracias, sí. Muchas gracias. Resfriada is one of the words they use for having a cold. Okay.
Oh,
Está
really?
resfriada is one of the terms there, and there are different vocabulary words used for having a cold, but this is one of them.
Oh,
Está resfriada.
resfriada.
But notice this, pálida, pálida, está pálida means she looks pale. And it is not her normal skin color. Yeah. Wow, she looks all drained. Okay, so that's telling you a temporary, a highly changeable condition. Okay, and boy, the next one is a condition that lasts for 9 months. Embarazada is not embarrassed, it is pregnant.
Pregnant.
Pregnant, and notice it's got an "a" on the end. If she's in that state of pregnancy, it better be a female. So there we go. Embarazada. Embarazada.
Embarazada.
So Cristina
Está
Está
embarazada.
embarazada.
Embarazada does not mean
Yes.
embarrassed at all, ever, ever, ever. Embarazada can only mean pregnant. And it really comes not from the idea of embarrassed like we have in English. Embarazada, that BAR
Embryo.
comes from, it's the area, it's this area. Yeah, it comes from the word for, barriga, the whole belly area.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a little snippet of an old word that refers to your belly area. Well, es obvio, that's an obvious way to talk about pregnancy. Okay. 10, número 10. We're talking about a city now, so it's one thing. Sevilla
Sevilla está
está
en
en el
el sur de España.
sur, norte, sur,
Mhm.
norte. Okay, sur, south. Bogotá, número 11. Bogotá
Está
en el
Está
en el
centro
centro
de
en el
de
Colombia.
centro de
Colombia.
Colombia. Bogotá está en el centro de Colombia. Now notice Bogotá and Sevilla are locations, they're telling where they're located. And notice, doesn't matter if the location, Sevilla is not going to get up and move. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Location, it doesn't have anything to do with that temporary and permanent thing. It's there. Okay. Bien. Número 12. Ella no
No está
está
en el colegio
en el
porque
colegio
porque
está
está
porque
de vacaciones.
vacaciones.
está de vacaciones. Ella no está en el colegio. She's not at school. And colegio means school. It does not mean college at all.
Really?
Yeah.
What is
And-
college then?
And sometimes they abbreviate this word to shorten it to cole. Cole. You'll hear people saying, el O está en el cole. Cole is high school, could be middle school, university, college, as we know it in the American English, is called universidad. Universidad.
So they
Universidad.
called a 2-year college also universidad?
See, yeah, it would be
Year?
post, yeah. It would be post, like, K through 12 kind of age. So, yeah. Okay. Porque está de vacaciones, she's on vacation. The way you say the on vacation part is de vacaciones. Think of that as a one chunk.
Vacaciones.
De vacaciones. De vacaciones. We say on vacation. I know it looks like of vacation, but that's the way they phrase it. De vacaciones. Those are the two words that go together. De vacaciones. Número 13. Ellos
Están
Están en el hospital porque
están
Están
enfermas.
enfermos. They're in the hospital. They're at the hospital because they are sick.
Están enfermos.
Están enfermos. And notice that enfermos is plural. Sick is a temporary, changeable state. It's health. It's an adjective, a description. But enfermos must be plural, when it's talking about more than one human being. Okay, so whenever we have a descriptive word, whether it's colors or sick or having a cold, respiratory cold, we need to put those words into the form of the person it's talking about. Feminine, if you need that, masculine, if you need that, plural, if you're talking about more than one person. Okay, and the last one, estáis,
Spain.
which word? Yeah, Spain, it's the Spain thing. Okay, I am gonna guess that you do not need a video on estar, ¿correcto?
Correct.
Sí,
Sí.
bien, okay, vale. We're going to leave ser estar for a bit with one real quick little set of examples. So this will be in context so that you can see how we would typically mix these up to talk about people, okay? In a normal setting. Algo. Tenemos actores. Estos son actores. These are actors. Tenemos a Tom Hiddleston. Benedict Cumberbatch. Hugh Jackman. Sí. Y el señor Bond. El señor Bond. Sí. Okay. Ellos son, if I'm talking about a group of people, right? Ellos son actores famosos. Ellos son actores famosos. 3 son ingleses. 3 of them are
English.
English origin. Okay. Son de Inglaterra. Now
England.
I named the country instead of the nationality, but it's still ser. Un hombre es de Australia. ¿Sí? Él es también, él también es cantante. La. Sí, bien, Jackman, sí, también es cantante.
¿Es cantante? Really?
Oh, sí, sí, es cantante. Canta muy bien. Es fantástico. Puede
How do you say
cantar.
they're gorgeous? They're handsome.
Es muy guapo. Es guapísimo. Es
Guapo.
guapísimo.
I thought that was a
Guapísimo.
street word.
Es
I thought that
guapísimo.
was slang.
No, guapo, muy guapo.
Guapo. Okay, that's what I thought.
And you know, there'll be slang terms for good looking too. Depending on where you are, muy majo, muy guapo.
I didn't want to say it because I thought it was a bad word.
No. Guapo.
Okay.
Guapo, good looking, handsome. Okay, but if you want to intensify it, you add an ísimo on the end.
Yeah.
Guapísimo. Es guapísimo.
Mhm.
Es guapísimo. Okay, bien. Okay. Ellos están en California. Ellos tienen proyectos en California. Proyectos en California.
Oh, projects.
Tienen proyectos, tienen trabajo, they have work. Sí, están en California, están en Los Ángeles, grabando, filmando.
¿Cómo se dice proyectos?
Proyectos.
Con J. Proyectos.
Proyectos. Bien, ok, vale. Vamos a hablar, de Ángela.
Merkel.
La recién jubilada, the recently retired. Well, I guess not yet. Pronto. Soon she's going to retire. Angela. En alemán se dice Angela. En español, Ángela. Pero en alemán, Angela.
Alemania or Alemania?
Es de Alemania. She's from Germany.
Alemania.
And we capitalize countries. not nationalities. Angela Merkel es de Alemania. Angela es alemana.
Oh,
Alemana.
okay.
Es ministra del gobierno.
Gobierno.
Es
Es
ministra del
ministra. She's a government.
del gobierno.
Del
Isn't she prime
gobierno.
minister?
Sí, sí, sí.
Is that how you say prime minister?
Ministra del gobierno, sí. El
Okay.
hombre
Oh, yeah,
es el
Macron.
señor Macron. Macron.
Señor Macron.
Macron es de Francia.
Macron.
Macron
Francia.
Presidente
es el
de
presidente de Francia.
De Francia.
Angela está con Macron.
Está
Macron.
con
She's
Macron.
with Macron. I now need a start. ¿Por qué? Why?
Formal.
Location.
Location. I know with Macron is not a place, yet it is. I'm telling who she's with. Even though I'm not talking about the land they're standing on, it's still considered a location. She's with
So
Macron.
it's not, but isn't it, I thought it was because he's a formal due respect. It's a respectful thing.
Oh, the está.
Angela está con Macron. Isn't estar formal? That's why you use it there?
Está can be formal if you use usted. So the thing to remember is that ella means she, él means he, usted means you formal. Those three human beings designated by él and ella and usted are different human beings, but they all share the same kind of verb, but they're not the same person. So usted means you're addressing somebody.
Mhm.
In a formal way, but this está doesn't mean usted. You're not talking to la señora Merkel. You're not talking to her saying, oh, nice to meet you, Angela Merkel. No, we're talking about her. So this
That
está
she's
is
there
not
with him.
right. This
Okay, I got it.
está con Macron. If you were talking about your kids, ¿dónde están tus hijos? Where are your kids? ¿Dónde están tus hijos? Oh, están con sus amigos. They're with their friends.
Okay.
Están con los estudiantes del colegio. They're with their school students. Yeah. So when you talk about being with people, that's still considered a location. Okay?
Okay,
Just wanted to
okay.
show that example. Angela está con Macron. Ellos están en Francia. Now, there is a location you recognize. Están en Francia. Ellos están en París. Ellos están contentos. They are
Happy.
happy. Okay?
Alegre.
Bien. Alegres. Alegres, contentos, lo que sea. Okay? Bien. A ver. Let's talk about a single person. ¿Quién es? ¿Quién es? Who is she?
Es Meryl Streep.
Ella es Meryl Streep. Es buena actriz. Es feliz. She is happy. She is a happy person. I want to show you the difference here between using ser and estar. Es feliz. She's a happy person, meaning all the time. Her attitude, personality-wise, is always upbeat. Es feliz. She's a happy person. But if I want to say she is happy now, I switch it to está contenta. Está contenta means she's happy right now. I could say está feliz. She's happy right now. Es feliz changes it to she is a happy person. Her personality is generally of an upbeat nature. So I'm just trying to show you a little bit with, you know, for an emotion, generally, I would say está contenta, she's happy. But what I really mean is she is a happy person that is a part of her absolute everyday makeup. She's always an upper, never a downer kind of person. then I could say es feliz, okay? Es de Estados Unidos, es estadounidense, she's a US citizen, es norteamericana, I could use that. Here are some physical characteristics now. Es rubia, es alta,
Ujú.
está en Los Ángeles,
Está en Los
está en el
Ángeles.
estudio.
Está en el estudio.
You have está, not están.
Not están, no, está en el
Oh,
estudio. Está
okay.
en el estudio.
So would you pronounce again that word, esta dense? I don't know.
Oh, this,
It's a $5
esta
word.
palabra, this word here that I've highlighted.
Sí.
Okay. Estadounidense. So if you
Estado.
need to practice this word, what you need to do is separate it, which we normally don't. Okay. But because it's so long, for an American to pronounce it, you need to practice it. And you need to practice it by separating it into two words that'll look more like Estados Unidos, the country. And this is Estado Unidense.
Unidense.
And it
That
means,
is a mouthful, and it's a
Unidense.
lot of vowels.
and
but
what it means from the United States?
It means a US citizen.
Okay, Estado.
It means what we
Unidense.
say in English as an American, but it is a no-no to say es americana. It is a no-no. It
Okay,
is culturally frowned upon in Latin America to look at Meryl Streep or you or me or anybody who is American and say es americana, because they say, muy bien, soy americana también. I'm American too, because I'm from this hemisphere. Yeah. So culturally
Estado
speaking,
Unidense.
they do not call us Americanos. Well, they may, but it'll be Estadounidenses, or in this case, because she's one person, Estadounidense. So here it is, Estado Unidense.
Estado
Unidense.
Unidense.
Now, in reality, when you hear people say this word, they will not separate it into two parts. You need to practice it in two parts until you get faster and faster with it. So you need to practice it as Estado Unidense, Estado Unidense, and try every day to make it a little faster. Estado Unidense, Estado
Estado
Unidense,
Unidense.
until it becomes Estadounidense.
Gracias.
That is how fast it will sound when you hear people speaking to you. Estadounidense, Estadounidense. It'll all run together because it is all one word and it's a lot of vowels. So for
Can
you
I
to,
say,
So one.
can I say soy americana latina?
pues, puedes, but Americana Latina could still mean a whole bunch of things. It won't say US.
Okay.
It still won't say US. You know, alguien de
Oh, it would be soy
alguien
norteamericana
de
latina.
Costa Rica, somebody from Costa Rica, it could be America, una Latina
Oh,
de
yeah.
America. Yeah. So
Oh,
when they ask where you're from, they don't generally want to know what state you're from. They don't know all 50 states.
oh,
They don't
that's true.
memorize
Oh, we
that
went
stuff.
through
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Yeah. They want to know what country you're from. And you
Okay.
either use that with norteamericana or estadounidense. Usha, tienes pregunta.
I have two questions.
Sí,
Number
sí.
one, if I didn't know about Meryl Streep, that she is a happy person always, then I would say Esther Feliz, looking at this picture.
Yeah, if I am just looking at this picture, I would either have to say está feliz. There are a few different words for happy. Está feliz or está contenta or está alegre. There are different words for happy. Right. If I'm just looking at the picture, well, she's not frowning, so she must be, yeah. Right, exactly. When you're describing what you see in the moment, yeah, está contenta is the better assumption.
Okay.
If I know her as a person, and I know she is an upbeat person, you know, this is her general character, her personality makeup, then I can say, es feliz, she's a happy person. Depende. It really depends on the context. It truly does.
And the second question, if I'm saying I am US citizen, then if I say soy estadounidense.
Exacto. Muy bien. Muy bien. Correcto.
Thank you.
De nada. Bien. Ok. Vale, perfecto. Vamos. We're going to move on to some numbers. A menos que tengan preguntas. Unless you guys have a question, I'm going to move on to numbers. Bien.
Bien,
Correcto.
número.
Ok. Números. Los números. Me imagino, I imagine that you are feeling pretty comfortable with the 1 through 30s, 1 through 30s. See, we're going to take a look at the 40s to 100s real briefly as a, como repaso, as a review. Okay, bien. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to look at, we're going to practice that with some prices, talking about what stuff costs. Cuánto cuesta. But first, we're going to warm up before we get into that with just our double-digit numbers past 30, right? We've got 1 hasta 10, 1 through 10. And you need to always, that 1 through 10 will always be repeated. We always repeat those 1 through 10s when we tag them on to the 40s or the 50s or the 60s or the 156. Yeah. So that 1 through 10 cycle, we always recycle into the higher numbers, right? As we talk about prices or room numbers or addresses or whatever. And so you always need to know through the 1 through 10, but we're going to look at the double digits, and then we're going to just introduce a little bit about the hundreds, but we won't work too much with the hundreds right now, only a little bit. I'm going to take a quick look. Vamos a repetir aquí. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then we'll hit our 100 word. 40.
40.
40. And we need, as you see at the far right, whenever I say 41, 42, 43, we need the separate words. Y, uno, y dos, y tres, etc. Okay. 50, 50. 50. And you can see it's got cinco buried into it in the first half, cinco without the o at the end of cinco, 50. All of these enta things are like 40, 50, 60. Yeah. Okay. We take the number 6, but we ditch the I that is in 6. We get just 60. 60.
60.
60. Y 60, we have 2 S sounds, right? Like seis has 2 S sounds. 60. But the only letter difference is going to be in 70. That letter S in the middle turns into a T because that's based on siete. Siete, like seis, drops the letter I. Siete drops the I from 7, and it goes into setenta.
70.
70, muy bien. And it's very hard. The 2 numbers you're likely to confuse if you don't understand someone well, is that the only difference between 60 and 70 is that letter T that goes in where the S is in the middle. So, you know, one little sound changes the number by 10.
10.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 80, 80.
80.
Nobody gets 80 wrong. And 90, 90, 90, right? And 9 has a UE, but when we change it into 90, we change that UE from 9 into an O. 90, 90. Ok. Bueno, vamos a practicar un poquito. We're going to practice with these numbers. 47. 47. ¿Cuál es el número? El segundo número. The second number.
76.
76. 76. Bien.
76.
¿Cómo se? Muy bien, muy bien. ¿Cómo se dice 92?
92.
92. Muy bien. Fantástico. ¿Cómo se dice, por ejemplo, 48?
44.
Ah,
Ocho.
48.
Ocho.
Y 8. Bien, sí, 48. Fantástico. ¿Cómo se dice 55?
55.
55. 55. Ok, vale, magnífico. ¿Cómo se dice 81?
82. Or,
Y
uno.
y 1. 81. 81. Bien. Vale, ¿cómo se dice 54?
54.
Y 4. 54. And you're hearing how we're recycling our 1 through 10 numbers. ¿Cómo se dice la segunda columna? Second column here. ¿Cómo se dice 69?
69.
69. ¿Cómo se dice 44?
44.
44. Muy bien. ¿Cómo se dice 93?
93.
Y 3. 93. 93. Muy bien. ¿Cómo se dice 88?
88.
88. Perfecto. ¿Cómo se dice 41?
41.
41. ¿Cómo se dice 67?
67.
Bien, bien. 67. 67. ¿Y cómo se dice 73?
63.
70, and you have to have your T in the middle. 73. 73. Muy bien. Fantástico. Fácil. We're going to do a little bit of precios. ¿Cuáles? Aquí. No quiero las cosas en excelente. Vamos a practicar un poquito. ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much do they cost? How much does it cost? ¿Cuánto cuesta? Sí,
¿Cuál?
el chico con
¿Cuál?
¿cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? ¿Cuánto
¿Cuánto
cuesta?
El chico, $23.99.
Sí, el chico con el básquetbol, sí, con el básquetbol, pelota de básquetbol, con la pelota. Cuesta, sí, la chaqueta roja. La chaqueta roja cuesta $23.
$23 y
99.
y 99 centavos.
Some
Do you say
people
centavos?
Centavos, sí, aquí, centavos, son dólares, these are dollars, so sí. Ok, aquí, ¿cuánto cuesta? Sí, esta de la mujer, the lady thing.
$31 y 50.
Y 50, sí, 31 y 50, muy bien. Aquí, la chaqueta gris, the gray jacket here. A la derecha, on the right.
48
Y 99.
48 y 99, muy bien. Tenemos zapatos aquí. ¿Cuánto cuestan estos zapatos?
62 y 90
62 y 99. ¿sí?
99.
62 prácticamente 63, ¿no? Bien. Okay, so you get this idea, you know, cuánto cuestan, how much do they cost? Because they're shoes, you never buy only one shoe. But, you know, if I'm talking about una chaqueta, una camisa, then it will be cuánto cuesta, how much does it cost, okay? We'll do a few more of those. I want to do a quick dictado with double digits only. There'll only be 2-digit numbers. So I'm going to take off share screen. I'm going to read you numbers. I don't want you to write out words. No, 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 because nobody does that. I want you to write the digits, the actual number, not the words. I will say the words. I'm going to dictate 10 words. And this is an important check for me so that I know that you're hearing, you know, that you're interpreting the words correctly into a digit, a numerical representation. Okay, vale, any old crummy piece of paper and pen, pencil, okay? Número uno. 42. 42. Número 2. 93.
93.
93. Número 3. Uy, a ver. 60. 60. Número 4. 38. 38. 38. Número 5. Número 5. 74. 74. Número 6. 55. 55. Número 7. 67. 67. Número 8. 22. 22. Número 9. 89. 89. Y número 10, 15. 15. 15. I'm going to show you what the answers were, what the answers are. Aquí tenemos los números. Here are your numbers. Your goal is to get 7 out of 10 of those, right? Okay. This is a very typical thing. The most important thing you can learn with numbers is to recognize what that digit is when somebody says it to you, because this is how people will explain prices to you. Or, you know, eventually if they give you an address, you have to find your way to things like that. Quantities of things. So that's the most important thing. Bien, we're going to talk just a little bit about the hundreds and then we're going to get into la casa a little bit more. Bien. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Any question about these up to 100? ¿Sí o no?
No.
Tomás.
Will you pronounce 64? Because I heard I was at 64. So
60, 64.
Okay.
64.
okay.
64. Sí. Bien.
Gracias.
Oh, de nada. Okay. Vale. We're going to talk a little bit about the hundreds, but we're not going to practice a lot with them yet today because we have so much to cover. So much stuff in so little time, but we are going to take a look at this. And I don't believe I have sent you this sheet yet. I have not. Okay. But I will send this to you so you can check it out. You've probably heard this a couple of times in the videos. We're just going to take a brief look at the hundreds words, okay? The word for 100, and it has to be 100 exactly on the dot, is 100. 100. And you know that CI combination has an S sound, 100.
Bien.
But anytime it's 101 or higher, we have to go to a longer word for 100. Instead of 100, we put a to on the end of it, ciento. So this shows, this shows you what happens. And notice it's not 101, it's just 101. 101,
101.
101.
102, 103. The next one would be 104.
104.
What would 110 be?
110.
110. Yeah, no letter E. We don't want that and word in there yet. 110. 111. 111. Perfecto. 111. 115, we're just putting the two words next to each other. 115.
15.
Perfecto. Now, once I get to 19, 19 is 10 y 19. That E sound for and, because you say it for 19, right? 19. 19. So it'll be 119.
Wow.
And notice, an E as and will not happen unless I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the last digit spot. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that works. We're still working it. 120, it's still just two words next to each other, right? 120.
120.
121.
121.
122.
122.
And so notice it's not 122. Yeah, it's too many E's, right? I only need the E when I've got 1 through 9 in the very last numerical place. Okay, in the ones place. 125. 125. Okay. 128. 128. Perfecto. So you're getting a feel for where the E comes in. Now, no E here because I've got a 0 in that last spot, right? 130. Now the E has to come in. 131.
131.
131. 132 is 132. 136 is
136.
136. You will have the E come in because the last digit is higher than 0. It's a 6. 136. Bien. 137. 137. And then we've got 140. I've got a 0 in the column. I don't have an E at all. 140. 140. So you see how this pattern is going along? With the higher numbers, we don't have that E, meaning and, unless the last digit is higher than a 0. And then the E will come in. 141, 141. You see how this pattern is going, right? See? Exacto? Okay.
Yeah, but it runs through like you're saying, ¿verdad?
Yeah, people will say it fast. When you hear people speaking, you may need to ask them más despacio, slower, por favor. Más despacio, por favor. Or repita, por favor. Please repeat. You may need to do that. Es normal. That's normal. I will send this to you. And we'll take a look at those math problems. We'll take a look at the answers next week, but not say the whole thing. Well, I may say the first part as a math problem. So we'll look at that. And then I'm just going to show you, that once we get into the multiple hundreds, and you should know how it is done, even though we're not going to have time to practice multiple hundreds a lot. The way that the hundreds is built is we basically take the word hundred, ciento, we put an S on the end, because if I got 2, 3, or 400, it's more than 100, right? So I have to make the word hundred, ciento, plural. I have to put an S on the end of ciento. It becomes cientos. And I just stick the number of hundreds on the front. The only violator of that rule, the rule breaker, will be the 500 number. Okay. So again, I will send this to you. Do not furiously copy things down. But they will sound like this. 200.
200.
Literally 200s. Yeah. 300.
300.
Sí. 400.
400.
400s, literally. Now here's the one that breaks the bank. This breaks all the rules. It's not 500. You would think, oh, it's been 200, 300, 400. It's not 500. That doesn't exist. No existe. That doesn't exist. They take that word quin from the quince, the 15, okay? And it becomes, oh, and we get rid of the C from cientos. That we get rid of the first letter that starts off the cientos part. So it becomes quinientos. 500.
500.
500 is what the teenagers call the hard one. Because it breaks the rule. And oh, I had a wonderful pattern going, and now this screwed it all up. And now I
So
got to
no-
know.
It takes the Latin form, no?
It takes the Latin form.
So
Yeah.
numbers are masculine and feminine?
Well, the
'Cause it's
hundreds
written-
could go into the hundreds words can go into a feminine form. However, how often do you as a tourist need to do that?
Not very.
Not very. If you were talking about 300 women at a convention, you would
Right.
need a
Yeah.
feminine form. If you were talking about,
300.
if you were talking about
Yes.
a shipment of 500 t-shirts to sell, you would need a
500.
feminine word. Are you going to do that as a tourist?
No.
No.
You're going to talk about prices, monetary units, and those will all stay masculine.
Okay.
So what you need to know, you are going to see feminine forms, but practically for the tourist, for the average person having a conversation, you're going to be using this for dollar or, well, monetary units, whatever they are, pesos, or, you know, whatever monetary unit they use in the country you're talking about. It's going to stay a masculine form. So there is what exists, yes, in the hundreds, there are feminine forms, and then there is what we actually use, which is going to stay that plural masculine form. See, vale? Bien. So, okay, we've got that big rule breaker, 500, and then we go
500.
back to our pattern again, and it becomes comfortable again, 600, 600.
600.
600.
600.
600.
We take the I out of siete again. Oh, we take it out. Okay, it becomes 700.
700.
700. Bien.
700.
We have perfect pattern. 800.
800.
800.
800.
We've got an almost perfect pattern. Instead of 9, we take the
Nove.
UE out of 9, we put it into an O to make it shorter, right? 9, like we had 90. We've got 9. 900.
900.
900, okay? And then we're just going to introduce you because, you know, even with some monetary units, things can be in the thousands. You know, if you buy something that's kind of pricey in pesos, you can get into the thousands, depending on what you buy. So you should know that the word for 1,000 is mil. Mil.
Mil.
Mil. And mil is not going to use these plural forms like cientos did. It's just going to stay mil all the time. So it'll be 2,000, 2,000,
3,000,
3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Okay, it's always going to be the number with mil. And do you need millions unless you're dealing real estate or stocks? No, you don't. You don't. If you want to know for curiosity, you can check that out. But, you know, practically speaking, we won't spend time in it. So I will send you these. But, and we may do a little mini dictado next week with a couple of hundreds numbers just for listening and a little bit of practice beforehand. But we won't have time to do a whole lot more with numbers right now. See?
The millions is millones is the double L, yay, no?
Millones.
Millones.
Millones. Millón, un millón, dos
Mil.
millones, tres. Yeah,
Dos
millones.
millones,
Millones does go
cien.
into plurals, right? Eso es. That is correct. Eso es. Okay? Bien. And we're going to leave numbers off for just a bit now. Okay, a ver. A ver. Momentito. Ok, vamos a hablar de la casa. De la casa. Aquí, la casa. And sadly, you won't be able to hear the little sounds here. Oh, perdón. I got the wrong thing brought up. Perdón. Ay. A ver. Vamos a ver. Uy, ay. Bien. Okay. We're going to do a quick little warm up before we actually see examples. La casa. There are going to be a couple things that, you know, might have multiple words depending on what country you're in. We're going to see if we can match these up. We're going to see if we can match up which word fits. So we're going to start with the one slightly odd one here. Ooh, no, we're going to skip it. We're going to look at kitchen first. We're going to get the obvious ones out. Kitchen. ¿Cómo se dice kitchen?
Cocina.
Cocina. Will that be an el cocina or a la cocina?
La.
La cocina.
La cocina. La cocina. And all kinds of words are going to revolve around cocina. La cocina. Cocina, right? Cocinar is the verb that means to cook. The thing you do in the kitchen. Cocinar turns it into an action. Cocinar. To cook. La cocina.
Cocinar.
La cocina.
Cocinar.
Okay. Living room.
La sala.
La sala.
La sala. And it's a la because it ends in an a. La sala. Bien. Femenina. Bien. House. Fácil.
La
Casa.
That's a gimme. See? Garaje. Oh, garaje. I gave that one away. Garage.
Es garaje.
Garaje. El garaje.
Is
El
it
garaje.
El garaje.
It's not
And
spelled
We have to pronounce it the Spanish way, which is
garaje.
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 The GE at the end, GE combination, remember, sounds
It's
like
jota.
ha. Okay.
Sorry.
Garaje.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sí, sí.
Is it JE or GE? Because I think in
Oh,
the video,
it's GE. It's GE, but it sounds like the J.
Garaje.
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 I thought it was
Dining room.
Sala.
Comedor.
Comedor.
Comedor. And it's el comedor.
El comedor.
El comedor. el comedor. Again, like cocinar becomes the verb to
comedor.
cook. Comer becomes the verb to eat. It's what you do in
El
that room.
comedor.
Comedor, you eat.
Comedor.
Is the verb, the action, but
Comedor.
el comedor is the
Comedor.
place, okay?
El comedor.
Bathroom.
Baño.
El baño. El
El
baño,
baño.
bathroom. And we're going to come back and talk about bathroom a little bit too. Okay, here's a word that is kind of problematic, and we'll tackle that in just a minute. Plain old bedroom might be different words depending on what region or what country you're in. And plain old bedroom can be
Dormitorio.
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 there is a verb meaning the
Dormitorio.
action dormir. Dormir is to sleep.
Dormitorio.
Dormitorio, okay? Our word
Dormitorio.
dormitory, right, for a place where college kids live, housing unit, is based on that same thing. But dormitorio is one of many possible words for bedroom. A master bedroom, like the big one,
Dormitorio.
could say
Dormitorio
principal.
dormitorio
Principal.
principal. You
And what are some of
could
the other,
say that. We're
what-
going to look at that. Vamos
what
a
are
ver.
other words for bedroom? Because
We're
that
gonna-
is,
Habitación.
No, tienes razón. You are correct. That is not the only word used for a bedroom. We're going to take a look at that right now. Ahorita.
We use
ahorita.
cuarto.
Well,
Cuartos. There we go.
Es
In
una
Mexico.
posibilidad. That is one possibility. So
Cuarto.
we're going to. Oh, momento. Oh, I thought I had this one and this one. Okay, bien. We're going to add one thing on. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Bedroom. Hay muchas posibilidades. I'm doing my Spanglish. Muchas posibilidades. So depending on where you are, there might be many different terms used for bedroom. And this is really largely, just one of those regional things. Kind of depends on where you are. You may hear, uy, ay, qué letras chiquititas. You may hear el dormitorio. Wow, why did I get that? Stop with the 18. Quiero 24. Quiero 24. Okay, mejor, mucho mejor. El dormitorio is one room. People may just use el cuarto.
Mhm.
El cuarto is the simple word that means in general room, just generic room. But many places use el cuarto to mean bedroom. Okay. El cuarto. You may hear la habitación.
habitación.
La habitación will not be just generic any old room. It'll be a bedroom, la habitación. Especially if you are in a hotel. Especially in a hotel setting, la habitación is very frequently used, okay? Because what do people do in a hotel? Principally, they sleep. They may watch TV, they may order in, okay. But, principally it's a place for sleeping. So, habitación, they may say habitación individual, a single room, habitación doble, habitación, okay, you get the idea. Habitación. Habitación may be used. Wow, I don't use this one personally, but some people do. La alcoba.
Alcoba.
Some people do use that in some countries, in some places, even la pieza. I'm not going to confuse it anymore. But anyway, these are probably the most frequently used ones. You get down to Chile, Colombia, or Chile, Argentina, or no? Okay, a couple places in Latin America, you may hear even yet one or two others, but these are the main words. You may hear many words for bedroom, so hay muchas posibilidades.
Isn't alcoba a broom also in Spanish?
Escoba. Escoba is broom.
Escoba.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's got a coba in it. But instead of alcoba, escoba. Okay, bien. Vale. Let's see how we might talk about a house. And we're doing this now because you're going to get a little assignment to come in and talk about your house next week. La semana que viene, okay? Let's start to combine. Y voy a engrandecer esto. Let's start to combine ser and estar and tener, to have. Yeah, because some houses have rooms, right? Or I have however many rooms in my house.
Lámparas tiene dos.
¿Verdad? Bien, ok. Vamos a hablar de, como por ejemplo, este cuarto, or esta casa. We're going to talk about this house. Es la sala. This is a living room. Es la sala. La sala tiene un sofá grande. La sala tiene un sofá grande, ¿verdad? Tiene dos ventanas. Tiene dos lámparas. Tiene dos mesitas. Mesa, table, but ita makes it little. Mesitas. A mesita is not like where you serve your main dinner. Mesita is a little side table. Yeah? Mesitas. La sala está en el primer piso. Primer piso, segundo piso, tercer piso, ¿sí? ¿Ok? La sala está, location. La sala está en el primer piso de la casa. ¿Bien? Vale, perfecto. I might say es el dormitorio. I might say es la habitación. Because there are different words for that. I could say es el cuarto. Es muy grande. Big. Es muy grande. Es muy moderna.
Moderna.
Es moderna. Tiene,
Moderna.
it has. Tiene una cama. Tiene una cama. It has a
Bed.
bed. I could say hay una cama, there's a bed. Or I could say tiene, it has. Tiene una cama. Either one of those verbs expresses the same idea. I doesn't mean the same thing as tiene. I means there is. But I could also say tiene, it has. Talking about the bedroom, right? Tiene una cama. Hay dos mesitas. Una mesita, una segunda mesita. Bien. Hay dos lámparas. Dos lámparas. Dos lámparas. Bien. Está en el segundo piso. Bien. Segundo piso. Bien. ¿Vale?
Second.
Ok. Bien. Vamos. We're going to next week talk about a couple of other rooms. I'm going to send you this whole slide. I want you to look at it and be prepared to talk about the rooms after that you're going to see after, after this room, la sala, and after this room,
question.
la habitación. Sí.
How do you say that picture in Spanish? Hay un
Un cuadro. Hay un cuadro.
cuadro.
If it's a painting, like not just a picture, a print, but a painting, una pintura.
Isn't that a painting?
No sé. You can use cuadro and pintura kind of interchangeably. You know, if you can't tell from the distance, if it's a real painting or just a picture. Plain old pictures, cuadro, cuadro.
Okay.
Sounds like
cuadro.
quarter, kind of, yeah?
So
Okay,
when
cuadro.
I was in Spain, I asked, ¿Dónde está el baño? And they laughed at me and they said I was asking for a bathtub.
Yes, okay.
So what is the
So
appropriate
here's what
word?
we're going to talk about. Gracias.
That's so cute.
Muchas gracias, Judy. Thank you very much. Because I will tell you, and even in Spain, this depende. It really depends on who you're talking to. But when you talk about a house, el baño, bathroom, because it has a place to wash your whole body, a tub
Okay.
or a shower, okay? But en un restaurante, in a public place,
That's where
meaning
Oh,
a
that's
restaurant,
right.
Los
a concert
servicios.
Donde están
hall, a
los
theater, a
servicios?
museum.
CRV.
Okay, you may be laughed at if you say baño, right? Es diferente. A baño has a bathtub. So be aware when you may really want to, yeah, ¿dónde está el baño? Now, I have heard people ask it and they don't get a funny response. However, you could get a funny response. The next four in a public space may make more sense. ¿Dónde están los servicios? Here's the safest
servicios.
term, because wow, doesn't that sound nice? Los servicios, the services.
Los servicios.
¿Dónde están los servicios? Oh, that sounds very, it's restroom.
Los servicios. Okay.
Yeah. Some places in Spain like this next word, aseos. Aseos means neat rooms. That sounds
Neat?
really, yeah, that sounds really formal. I don't think you're going to hear that outside of Spain. Just saying, just saying. Servicios is like underlined for a reason. It's pretty generic. Donde están los
It's
servicios?
generic.
You might say, ¿dónde está el cuarto de hombres? ¿Dónde está el cuarto de damas? The ladies' room, the men. Some places accept that. I underline servicios. I think this is your best bet. Because it is like saying restroom. Okay.
Los servicios.
Now, there are countries where they won't care if you say, ¿dónde está el baño? There are, yeah. So it really depends on where you go. But you know, technically a restroom doesn't have a bathtub. So Judy, you're absolutely correct. People, you could get a funny look depending on the age of the person, how much exposure they have to people who are visiting from other countries.
In Mexico, los servicios.
I kind of
Está
hear
mejor.
all over the place, you know.
I think they do both, baño.
You hear both.
in
Yeah,
Mexico.
I think it's more flexible when you're in Mexico.
Mhm.
Es más flexible. Yeah, in Spain, they kind of do think it's strange to say baño as a general rule for a restroom. But, you know, just so you know, but this is when you're in a public space.
Right, and I was.
Restaurant, museum, bar. Judy, I'm so glad you said that. So what you're going to see next when you're preparing is you're going to see pictures of places next week. And I want you to just describe, hey, what is this place? And talk a little bit about it. Not huge detail, but little things, you know, what kind of appliances in there? Oh, how many chairs? Is there a table? Is there a lamp? Yeah, that kind of real general, muy general, bien? Muy general. I
Mhm.
also want you to come and talk a little bit about your house. So part of your homework is going to be to come, and you'll probably need to write this down, which is perfectly fine. Talk about en mi casa, in my house, en mi casa,
En mi casa.
en mi casa. Por ejemplo, mi ejemplo, here's my example. En mi casa, tengo 4 habitaciones, 4
Uno.
cuartos, ¿sí? Una sala muy grande,
Mhm.
Tengo un comedor pequeño. Tengo una cocina grande. En mi casa hay 3 baños. Hay 3 baños. En mi casa hay un patio. Hay un
I have a
patio.
question.
Sí, sí, dime.
How do you say kitchen nook and how do you say powder room? And how do you
Kitchen
say
nook, people generally just kind of go with cocina as far as I am
cocina?
aware.
Okay.
Yeah, cocina.
How about
sí.
pantry? How about pantry?
Tengo que pensar un poquito. A ver, momentito. Let's take a quick look. Almacén is generally a place where you keep your, let's look at pantry real. Uy, a ver. Uy. Cursor doesn't want to. Oh, yeah, almacén. Aquí, look, 3 words. So it depends on where you are. Almacén.
Yeah.
Well, bodega, I would never use bodega, but
I would
dispensa,
never
I
use
have heard
bodega either.
dispensa for sure. Yeah, but
I never heard of the
almacén, kitchen pantry, they live dispensa, alacena. Alacena, despensa, yeah, sí, bien. And you don't have to you don't have to get into armarios, closets and all of that. We're looking at just some real general stuff. But I do want you to talk a little bit of, okay. Entonces, en mi casa hay total, hay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Hay 13 cuartos. Hay 13 cuartos. Hay 13 cuartos. Y hay un estudio, una oficina para mi esposo también. Una oficina en mi casa. La oficina está en el segundo piso. La oficina de mi esposo, su oficina trabaja con la computadora, ¿sí? Está en el segundo piso. ¿Bien? ¿Bien?
Sí.
¿Vale? Okay, so I want you to come in and talk a little bit about your houses, just your house, or maybe you want to talk about apartamento. Maybe you don't live in a house. If you don't live in a house, mi apartamento. There are different words for apartment.
Apartamento.
In Spain, they call an apartment un piso, like the word for floor. In Mexico, departamento, department, I know, is frequently used, but departamento or apartamento mean apartment in
Apartamento.
general. I wouldn't use piso because that's more of a Spain kind of thing. Bien? So I want you to talk about that. I want you to make sure that you also get prepared to talk a little bit about describing things just a touch. I am going to give you a video and I will show you what it would look like para que sepan. Perdón. A ver. It will look like this. And I'm going to it's going to use colors to introduce the idea of adjectives, okay? And colors can be used as adjectives. So we're gonna pair that up with, for sure, capítulo 5, lesson 5, describing things. So make sure, I told you last week, just take a look at some descriptions, but I want you to take a look at all of chapter 5 during this week. And I want you to pair it up with this video that you see on the screen. Okay. The only part of chapter 5 you maybe should skip is it's going to show you possessive adjectives. I mean, you can take a look at it. It's easy. It's words like my, your, his, her, their, our, telling you who stuff belongs to. Okay, so look at it, but don't get too bogged down with that, because what you want to do is build vocabulary. Chapter 5 is going to give you some real basic vocabulary about colors and simple descriptions like big and small, expensive and inexpensive, short and long, basic adjectives that describe how things look. But this video is very, very good because it's going to show you how adjectives go into feminine forms, or maybe they don't need to. How they go into plural forms. And it does it in a way that connects your listening and your visual, it coordinates your vision with your listening. So I want you to pay real close attention. Okay. She's going to purposely take some colors out of the mix because they're going to follow one pattern for making plurals and leave other things in. Things are going to follow one pattern for making plurals or a second pattern for making plurals. So how she combines these colors coordinates with how you make these plural, or how you may or may not need to make them masculine or feminine. Bien? Okay, so the visual thing is on purpose to connect that pattern, those kinds of patterns in your brain. Bien?
Sí.
Perfecto. I think you've got.
So marrón is brown?
Well, marrón is another one of those wonderful regional words.
Yes.
People fight over
Brown.
the word for brown. Oh, that's a stupid word for brown. We don't want to use that word for brown. Yeah. Marrón, café. Café is acceptable. And there are a couple of others which mean like different shades of brown, but yeah, you can usually keep it to marrón or café. Café es popular in Mexico. Mexico really likes to use that word café or color de café, either way.
Yeah, color de
Yeah.
café. Yeah.
Color de café or just café. Other reasons, like some people in Colombia don't like café. They no, marrón. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But it
people in
makes you
Spain,
think of maroon.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, it sounds like maroon, doesn't it? But it's not maroon. Marrón. Bien. Okay.
Sí.
Vale. We good?
Gracias.
Fantástico. Nos vemos. Así.
Hasta luego.
Guys. Hasta luego.
Thank you.
Nos
Thank you.
vemos el martes, ¿no?
Nos vemos.